This is the After Sessions, and I'm Emma, and I'm here with Danny Toeman. Hello.
Hello.
Thank you very much for coming in.
It's an absolute pleasure to be here with the Alpha Sessions.
Oh, thank you. So, kind of do some digging before we get an interviewee in.
Well, my record is spotless.
Okay, good.
Because I killed all the people who had the records.
Okay.
And all the people with the shovels. So you couldn't do any digging.
Okay, that's fine then.
Shouldn't have said killing.
I've done a limited amount of digging then.
Let's see what you got.
Cool. And I just wanted to chat about a little bit about some of the music that you've done recently, some of the music that you've got coming up. You released an awesome EP in 2014, which, by the way, I spent last night listening to, and sounds very good.
Well, thank you very much. That makes one person who's listened to it.
It's called The Way It Seems, isn't it?
It certainly is.
And talk to us a little bit briefly about how that came about and the process for putting all of that together.
Well, I guess you could say the story of The Way It Seems EP began when I wrote some songs.
Okay.
And then as the story progressed, I found a studio I could record them in at a good discounted rate, found some musicians who were willing to play for a good discounted rate, and then ultimately released it really, really quickly because I felt I needed content out, and because that winter I was playing at Bluesfest at the Royal Albert Hall, and so I wanted to have some music to come out around the same time, so I put an EP out, and the way it seems is that it was very much a rush job, not like this new album I've got coming up, but we won't talk about that just yet, will we?
We're going to get to that in a minute. So why was it called The Way It Seems?
You know what? I have no idea. I had a long list of different titles that I gave to various people working on the Dream Team, my PR team. And The Way It seemed to be the most innocuous. I like the fact that my new album as well has a similar title, so I'd like to think there is a bit of a theme. It's almost like a quote from one of the lyrics of one of my songs, but not the title of the song.
Yeah.
But don't ask me to remember which song has The Way It Seems in it, because I cannot remember.
But did you write the song specifically for the EP, or were they songs that you wrote that you happened to compile together?
Those songs in particular, I'd written just coming out of a former band of mine, Danny and the Lost Souls. We'd been playing in Leeds at the time, and we'd achieved some good shows there, but the time was running out, and I was craving to move back to London, where I belong, North London to be specific, #, North London Soul. And that was when I decided to put a record together, write some new songs. I don't really think there was much thought about should these be in a particular style, because I've always kind of written in that soul funk style anyway. It's the music that I grew up on, and so it's the one that sort of comes most natural to me in terms of writing. Pardon?
Is that intentional?
It's just
style, or it's
just the one that's the most natural for me. I mean, and I guess it is obviously intentional, but you know, what came first, the chicken or the egg? You hear this music and you love it growing up, and then it just becomes part of your musical language. And it's what I've always... My number one rule as a musician is you have to be your own number one biggest fan. I know a lot of people who make music because they think it sounds cool, or it approaches a particular market, or it will sell. The music I make, I need to be able to listen to. And now with soul music and funk music, here's the thing. Statistically speaking, I can listen to most records of that genre, and it's not a statistical genre, and music is not a statistical thing, but I can listen to most songs, and somehow it will hit me in a particular way, it will affect me in a particular way that most other music can't. Not all of it, by any means. There's a lot of terrible soul music out there. I'm not going to name any names. But I do know a few people in particular. Not going to name any names. Yeah, I love that kind of style of music. It's very much a part of me for these last... I'm not going to give away my age.
Fair enough. Now, anyone that listens to your tunes will be able to see that I think there are a couple of key players with regards to your influences. One of the main ones being James Brown.
Yeah, I would say that's a pretty obvious one. I actually was able to see him live back in 2004 at the Hammersmith Apollo, or the Eventim Apollo, or the Carling Apollo. One of the... I don't know what it's called. One of the Apollos. It's the one in Hammersmith.
Hammersmith Apollo?
Well, it's in Hammersmith, but it always changes its name every 5 years.
Fair enough.
So I saw him there back in 2004 when I was a lad.
He's amazing.
Oh yes,
like
absolutely.
Amazing. I saw him in 2006. Like incredible.
Was that at the BBC at the Roundhouse by any chance?
It might have been.
Because I remember they televised that. That was an excellent performance. I remember. Did he have the Sugar Babes come on and sing "This Is a Man's World"?
I think so, but it was very much he overshadowed them by far, obviously, for obvious reasons.
Despite the fact that he was a very short man.
Yes, although I never noticed that.
Must have been the Cuban heels.
Never had a good idea. And if there's one thing I can guarantee, the further we go, the less seems clear. So don't ask me to guess the weather. You need an umbrella in the summertime. Whenever life gave out the lemons instead of lemonade, I'd end up with limes. But somehow we make it up as we go along. 'Cause nobody is gonna tell me what's right and what's wrong. Oh yeah, we'll make our mistakes, 'cause nothing's gonna break me. Oh yeah. I never could respect my elders when I know they ain't got a clue. No. Take their advice with a grain of salt. It's all do as I say and not as I do. But somehow we make it up as we go along. 'Cause nobody is gonna tell me what's right and what's wrong. We'll make our mistakes and nothing's gonna break me. Yeah. I'm gonna say it one more time. Now I ain't got no common sense, and I never had a good idea. But if there's one thing I can guarantee, the further we go, the less seems clear. But somehow we make it up as we go along. 'Cause nobody is gonna tell me what's right and what's wrong. Oh no, they make our mistakes, nothing's gonna break me.
The Alpha Sessions.
You are compiling an up-and-coming album.
Well, the name of the album, if it ever does come out, is called The Point of No Return. Now, the difference between this album and the last EP that I made is that I've spent over 2 years making it, producing it, writing it, recording it. I have cut absolutely no corners in making this. I found the best possible musicians that I could find to make this record. Like I said, I have to be my own number one fan, and this is a record for me. I've been in the process of making this record and listening to this record for nearly 3 years now, if not more than 3 years. And even when it comes on shuffle on my iPod, and I still got an old-fashioned iPod somewhere in here. I was going to hold it out for the camera, but we don't need to do that. I still have an old-fashioned iPod. When it comes on shuffle, I do not skip a song because I still enjoy it. And most musicians will be driven mad by the music they record. But there are 10 songs. The name of it is The Point of No Return by me, Danny Toeman. I found the best musicians. I recorded on analog tape. You know what I mean? Like old vintage equipment.
So good.
On the old amps. I found the best possible people to work on this record. And the sad thing is, people don't want albums anymore. So I'm trying to find the best way of releasing this. I'm trying to find the best way of not just throwing it out into the ether and hoping that people find it, because I put so much into this and I
But I
also
think-
spent a lot of money on it as well.
But I think with a genre that you're part of, people do want albums.
That's true, and they also want it on vinyl, and that is expensive. So if there are any wealthy benefactors listening who fancy, giving me an unmarked bag, we don't need to go into that. But no, I would love to print it out on vinyl as well. I think that's been coming back these last few years. It's just a shame vinyl is relatively cheap, but the good record players are so hard to find.
Expensive and hard to find.
Anyway, what else can I tell you about this album? It's the
So-
best album that you will ever hear made in the last 5 years by an independent artist. And if you don't believe me, come fight me.
So it's taken you 3 years to put it together.
From writing the first song to getting it all mastered and remastered, because I didn't like the sound of one particular vowel on this, having to re-record whole songs because I wanted it to be the best possible thing that it could be.
But
And I
at
think
what
it is.
point did you think, okay, I'm ready now, it needs to be released?
I don't
is
think it
there-
ever needs to be released.
Okay.
I made this record for myself. And also, please don't come fight me. Tell you what, if you don't believe me that is the best independent record made by an independent artist in the last 5 years, come find me and I will play it to you. I mean, in person, because I'm not going to just put it online for you to steal.
Are you dropping the word fight because you are coaxing me into asking my next question, which is your relatively recent / new pastime, which has led to your new music video? I
You
feel
know
like that
what?
was quite a nice segue.
You know what? The other day, I mentioned my most recent pastime, and someone offered to fight me, and I said, "Hey, come on, I'm not 100% right now. You see this wrist tape? This is my excuse to get out of a fight right now." But as you mentioned, yes, in 2018 I took up professional wrestling.
Hang on. You say that so casually, like you just took your dog out for a walk. Like, talk to us about how this started and why you decided to just get up one morning and take up wrestling.
Okay, well, how it started. I woke up in 2018. I'd been dumped. I was working jobs that I wasn't too happy with. I was heavily overweight. In fact, I was very nearly 19 stone, very close to 19 stone, or 267 pounds, I think. Well, those are both imperial. What's the metric? I can't remember. Nearly 120 kilograms. And I went to the optician and they said, you've got something weird with your eye, you should probably get checked for diabetes. And so as soon as I even suggested diabetes, I thought, well, my life is over. I'm going to have both my legs amputated, I'm going to go blind, and then I'm going to die painfully. And so I decided within a day I'd change my entire life. I started going to the gym sort of 3-4 times a week. Wow. I counted every single calorie, stopped eating carbohydrates. And so progress was starting to be made. But then I thought, as fun as it is to run on a treadmill, I want to do some kind of physical activity that will give me a bit more of a goal to keep on losing weight. Now, I've always loved professional wrestling. I used to watch it with my grandfather when I was a young boy. He introduced me to it, and it's always been one of those sort of arrested development type things that I've never really grown out of, and it's mainly for kids, I would say. But I've always appreciated it as a sport and as an art form. And so I saw there was advertising a wrestling. There was a wrestling school was being advertised as being close to central London on Facebook. And so I wrote them an email. I said, hey, can I come down and have a session? And I did that first session. This was back in March. And I'd never experienced so much mental and physical pain in my life. And the next morning I woke up and I couldn't move. Like, people say this. No, it's true. You feel muscles that you've never felt before in your life after the most solid, extensive workout. And I actually heard only a few days ago that hitting a wrestling ring, taking a bump, which is, the way you fall in a ring to protect yourself, even just hitting the mat at a high speed is equivalent of being in a car crash at 35 miles per hour. Wow. But I woke up that next morning aching, in pain, not moving, and I couldn't wait to go back. And so it developed, and I wouldn't say that I'm, The Rock by any means right now, but I love...
You wouldn't think that from a music video.
Well, there are a few superficial differences between me and The Rock, but...
I never noticed.
Apart from the beard and the hair and the complete lack of muscles, and maybe sort of 2 feet shorter than him. However, I don't know, is he 8 feet or something? But I love this so much, and I'm really hoping in the new year I'll have a chance to wrestle professionally, because I've only been training up until now. But it's given me a whole new lease on life, and I think with musicians in London... it can be not a very gratifying experience. You know, we deal with a lot of rejection, a lot of hustlers and swindlers always trying to, you know, get our services for nothing, or to try and bamboozle us and give us the old flim-flam, hupsy-daisy, what have you. And, you know, we have to promote all these shows and bring people in, and there's always a constant stream of sadness and loneliness and disappointment while you watch all your friends with real jobs go off and have nice holidays and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm playing the world's smallest violin for myself. I know it's not that bad, to be honest. We choose to do it. It's our own choice. I would recommend so much for everyone who might be feeling in a similar state of what's going on to find their own wrestling, to find something they could be equally passionate about but unrelated to music, to go and pursue that alongside the music, to give yourself a refreshing sort of lease on life, I would really say. Now, ironically, I say that because I made a music video where I am wrestling,
Yes.
so I did kind of combine the two.
Join the two. And what was it that made you want to turn it into a music video?
Well, halfway through, a few months into training in wrestling, my coach, a man named Kyle Ashmore, who's a long-term veteran of the UK scene, fractured my elbow. And he hit me with the clothesline. I hit the mat, and I landed right on my elbow. And so I was out. I mean, I wanted to get straight back in, but the doctor said, no, you stay out for 2 months at least, and then we'll check you again and everything. And when that happened, I thought, it could be ages until I become professional. I need to set my sights on finding a good way of having something to work towards, rather than just waiting to become good enough to be a professional. I did work towards something, so I said, I'm going to try and make a music video. I think I've got a good song on my new album, which would make a good video for this, a song called Rise Above. It's a little bit Eye of the Tiger-esque, I would like to think.
What came first, the wrestling or the single?
Oh, the single.
That sounds like a chicken and egg situation.
As in the song was already complete at that point.
Oh, right.
And initially I wanted to, when I was thinking about music videos for the album at the beginning of the year, I was thinking, oh, maybe I could go to a boxing gym and film a few people.
Yeah.
And then when the idea of wrestling sort of became more apparent, I thought, I'm going to film myself having a proper match, and this will be the perfect song for it.
I used to run around in circles, now I'm walking in a straight line. You know it feels so good, moving forward one step at a time. 'Cause if I broke my stride for every coincidence, then I would surely drift into insignificance. I need to rise above to a higher place. Rise above, there ain't no time to waste. Rise above, take the hands of fear. Never wanna know if I left it too late. Oh, I used to stay in bed and lie watching all the days roll by. Now it's time to get my share, and it ain't gonna fall from the sky. If it's 1,000,000 to 1, I'm still gonna take that bet. I'm the rock, I am the rolling stone, and wish my future's higher. I need to rise above to a higher place. Rise above, there ain't no time to waste. Rise above, tap the hands of fate. Never wanna know if I left it too late. Oh. I used to cling to every barrier to keep myself from falling down. 'Cause everywhere I go, I was standing on shaky ground. I turned my focus up and targets locked into my side. It's an uphill climb, but I'm still reaching for the prize. Oh, yeah! I need to rise above to a higher getting stronger every day. I'm gonna tempt the hands of fate. 'Cause I never wanna know if I left it too late. Hey, hey, hey. Hey. Oh, yeah. Hey. Hey.
The Alpha Sessions.
You've also been playing with other artists, and you've been writing with a fellow Alpha Session artist, Louise Golby, and you've also been playing loads and loads of gigs. What was it that made you want to write with other artists in addition to playing your own music as well?
Writing with other artists is a very good way of staving off loneliness, I find. Or, it's just good to have another artist's perspective. I guess should have been the first and only answer I should have said. But actually often it's really a case of you can start writing something and you can sort of feel your brick wall around what you're trying to achieve. And, if you give it to someone else with a particular perspective, they will see a completely different way of sort of solving the problem. Not that music is a sort of a puzzle to be solved, but I find in a lot of ways it sort of is. It's like it kind of exists over there and you're the guy with the hammer trying to chisel away the stone around it, and other people offer different tools, and that's probably the most fun thing about writing with other people, although it can be very difficult if you're not with the same overall vision. You might have different ways of getting there, but hopefully you're still trying to get to the same place, is what I would say.
Does that mean that when you were writing your album, you took some of the raw tracks to other artists and got feedback that way?
Oh,
or
no,
not
not
at all. Very much your own personal work?
For my album, I did a little bit of writing with some other people, mainly my good friend and collaborator David Albury, who I've written with before in the past. He's now currently starring on the West End as Smokey Robinson in the Motown musical.
Amazing.
But back when we were at uni together, we wrote this song called When the Lights Go Down, which ended up getting selected on the Abercrombie and Fitch playlist by our great surprise.
So good.
Still waiting on those royalties, Abercrombie and Fitch. What was I saying? Like a lot of the song, a few of the songs in the album came from sort of writing sessions we'd initiated previously, and then I'd gone and developed everything. Yeah. But for this album, it was mainly because most of the songs tell a story about a particular place in my life and how I've come out of that place. You look at the song titles, songs like Rise Above, Moment of Weakness, Tears of Joy, Give It All Up.
It's quite an emotional album then.
I would say so, but you know what? It's not a sad album.
Okay.
It's not a sad... That's the thing. I don't like to make sad songs. I mean, you can listen to the songs I do in session here today, and you might think they're sad, but I would like to think they all have a redemptive quality. They all have the escape option, and a good escape option, as in things might be bad, but I'm going to make them better for myself.
Yes. Very much so. You've also done loads of gigs, particularly all over London. Do you have a favourite London music venue?
Oh, you're really putting me on the spot here. There's so many different places I like to play in London.
Very diplomatic answer.
Although so many places that don't book me anymore in London.
Why?
It's
Because
tough.
you haven't listed them as your favourite?
Well, probably after this, yes. If I can give special mention to one place in particular, I would say the Spiritual Bar in Chalk Farm.
Oh, I've never been there before.
Have you never been there before?
No.
You've never been there before?
I have not.
Okay,
That
well...
has to be said in a very high pitch to make it warrant.
It does. Where is it? It's in Chalk Farm. It's just off the Chalk Farm Road on Ferdinand Street. It's this little bar which has the interior of an Amsterdam coffee shop, if you know what I mean, but one of the good ones rather than the tourist trap kind. It's run by this Brazilian man called Rafael, who makes mean caipirinha, however you pronounce it, I don't know. And it's sort of mainly blues, folk, a little bit of soul and jazz.
Oh, we are
it's
going
this
there.
tiny place. It has music on every night, a lot of open mic nights. You'll often find me there on a Saturday or a Friday. Has a late license, friendly staff, excellent atmosphere. It's like the kind of place that I probably don't want to mention because you want to keep it unique rather than try and make it too touristy. But
Only
it has a great
exclusive
international
people
crowd.
Can go there, which is good. Okay, so to kind of round off the interview, wanted to chat a little bit further about your single. Give it a really big plug because it is coming out very soon.
Yeah, it is. But what's more important, rather than just the single coming out, not even the album. Well, the album, because I don't have a release date for the album, might never come out. I need people to want to hear this album before I can release it. But no, what I'm talking about is the big single launch gig that we have coming up very, very soon.
Yes, very soon.
Very soon. On January the 21st of 2019, me, Danny Toeman, and my band, The Love Explosion, will be taking the stage at Pizza Express Live in Holborn, the brand new, swish, swanky, fancy venue jazz club built right in the centre of London. Not the Soho one, the one in Holborn, Central Line, Piccadilly Line, I don't know, take your pick. We're going to be playing there for nearly 2 hours of electric music, of electrifying music, of sensual soul and furious funk music. And I've just lost any particular person who was going to watch it for saying it like that. No, but please do come. It's our big single launch for Rise Above. Danny Toeman and the Love Explosion, Holborn, Pizza Express Live on January the 21st. We're on at 8:30, all the way until 10:30. And we are going to lay it all on the line, let it all hang out, and do everything we can to make it the most memorable experience, and really stave off those January blues.
Random question before we get into the kind of end part of the interview where I'm going to give you a chance to plug loads of other stuff as well. Your gig that's coming up at the end of January, or any gig, right, in a hypothetical situation, if you could have a dream rider, what would that be?
Ooh. Ooh, I should have come prepared for this, because I never normally am prepared, and when people in fact ask me for a rider, I never have anything good to say.
You can go like crazy. I mean, we've had anything from gyms to goats and anything in between.
Gyms, as in like a whole personal gym. I like that. Okay, I'll tell you what. Okay. A few things.
Or whiskey, which is also another good one.
I would like to. I mean, I was someone who used to work in live promotions and as a gig rep, and was the one who had to put the special non-gluten cider in the bass player from Whitesnake's fridge before the show and everything.
I did a similar job.
It's very thankless, isn't it?
It's kind of weirdly fun.
Yeah.
In a strange.
I guess which bands you work with. The bassist from Whitesnake, by the way, was a lovely guy, I will say. That wasn't any disparaging thing. I just remember he had a particular gluten-free cider. So that's all the example that I bring up. But on my rider, I would like a portable sauna with a masseuse. And lobsters for after the show.
Oh, do you not eat lobsters before the show or during the show?
The thing is, that's the problem. They will put on a big spread before and never gets eaten. I can't eat before I do a show. I've got to be empty in the stomach. So let's say masseuse, portable sauna, and a guaranteed steak and lobster dinner for after the show.
Nice. I'll make sure that's written down and give that to the guys at Pizza Express.
With extra butter.
Right, so you've got the gig at the end of Jan. You've also got the upcoming single and the brand new album, which I'm tempted to just give you a release date so you feel compelled to release it.
Not going to happen. You can't sway me that much.
So if I pull out a random date in, say...
Don't tempt me.
March.
Oh, that's not enough time for a promotion. Not enough time.
July?
No. No, it's going to take a long time to get people interested enough before I can release this album.
Okay, I'll leave that with you.
Thank you.
But if people want to find out more about you, where can they go? What can they do?
Well, I am on all or most of the social media. I think the best places to find me are on Facebook, which my Facebook page is facebook.com/Danny Toeman. No dashes, just facebook.com/Danny Toeman.
And that's Toeman with an E after the O.
Yes, that is very correct. I'm also on Instagram at Danny Toeman, on Twitter at Danny Toeman. I'm a big fan of Instagram at the moment. I've only really just gotten it, and I could certainly do with a few more followers. I've got my own website, dannytoeman.com. And now if you're probably wondering, well, as you said, it does have an E in it, but just a nice way of remembering my full name. My name is Danny Toeman. I'm Danny, like Danny, or Danny Zuko, in this black leather jacket, like Danny Zuko from Greece. Toe is in foot, and man is in woman. Danny Toeman, but make no mistake, this guy.
Is that how you remember your name?
Oh, man, baby. It certainly is.
Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you so much for having me here on the Alpha Sessions.
Once upon a time, somebody told me you're lonely and the world couldn't handle me. There's too much insanity. A slipping, sliding through the mire on a solitary odyssey from the depths of depravity to the heavenly majesty. So I keep on singing the song in my heart, trying to find my way back home. I keep on searching for myself. Thursday's child still has so far to go. Do-do-do-do. Shoo-ba-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Whoa, do-do-do-do. Shoo-ba-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Yeah, people like to tell me once in a little while that I should smile and the world is so beautiful, and that's indisputable. Try to find the beauty hidden deep within. I never win, 'cause beneath that skin deep beauty lies, revealing truth left in disguise. So I keep on singing the song in my heart, trying to find my way back home. I keep on searching for my salvation, but Thursday's child still has so far to go. Do-do-do-do. Shoo-ba-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Whoa, do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do. Do-da-ba-da-ba-ba-ba-da-ba. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I could have gone the easy way into obscurity, surety, then roll right back around again, buy into the latest trend. Living free the hard way gives me no excuse when I lose, but I knew it'd be a bumpy ride, swimming out against the tide. So I keep on singing the song in my heart, trying to find my way back home. I keep on searching for my salvation, yeah, but Thursday's child, Thursday's child, Thursday's child still has so far to go. Do-do-do-do.